Hey YouTubers, this is CuJo06241 coming at you with another review. For those that don't know, I'm a huge Spider-Man fanatic. I've seen every episode of the 90s cartoon simply titled Spider-Man. I've seen every Spider-Man Unlimited, the 2003 animated series, again titled Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and so far, Ultimate Spider-Man. I've also collected and read a number of the comic books. In this series of reviews, I'm only going to focus on every animated series I've listed, starting with the 90s animated cartoon. Let me also say that this entire review of all the animated series will be 3 parts long. That being said, I guess I'll call this little string of reviews CuJo06241's Spider-Thon. Alright, let's get this party started, shall we? Spider-Man, the animated series. This started airing in 1994 and ran for 65 episodes. I was about 2 years old when this came out, and as I got older, I started to watch it, but didn't really understand most of what was going on. But now at the age I'm at now, after seeing every episode, I can say that it's pretty good. There's one minor complaint I have, and it's just my own opinion. I didn't like Peter's body size. I know it's a bit weird to complain about, but I just thought he looked too big. What I mean is, he's built like a football player. I understand, he's supposed to have some muscle to him, but he isn't supposed to be a brute. The voice acting is done by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who also did his voice in Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions as Spider-Man Noir, and he also did Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man Edge of Time. He does a really great job with Peter in this series. He pulls off the dramatic moments very well. The sarcasm is done very well, and overall, he was a great choice. The story itself seems like a comic book on the screen. Something's always happening, and isn't that how it should feel? The villains are all villains from the comics, which should really be how it is, so I won't give much on that, sorry. A few specific events that especially interest me were when Spidey grew 2 pairs of extra arms and kept mutating into the Man-Spider. If I remember correctly, that's what they called it. This went on for a number of episodes, until finally, Maria Calypso, I believe her name is, found a cure. For those that don't know, she's the love of Kraven. I'm sorry if I get that name wrong, but moving on. Another story that caught the best of my interest was the whole thing with Mary Jane mysteriously disappearing. Peter was filled with so much guilt over losing the love of his life. I'm not sure if this actually happened at some point in the comic books, or if it was their way of showing what happened to Gwen Stacy in the comics, only altering it a little. But nonetheless, it's a pretty intense part of the story. Another thing that caught my interest was when Mary Jane returned and her and Peter got married. Simply for what came after. They go out on their honeymoon, and Mary Jane starts having weird dreams and starts acting kind of funny. During a battle with Hydro Man, she discovers that she has the same abilities as him. She can shoot water and turn into a liquefied state. In a sick plot twist, it turns out she's a clone that ends up breaking down due to her being unstable. It was a real tragic ending, but it only made the show that much better. The last thing that really stuck out was when Spidey had to travel into different dimensions and lead a team of superheroes against Doctor Doom. This is cool because it shows what kind of leader Spider-Man is, and how well he can work with others. Actually, I should say, the finale of the show is by far my favorite segment. Peter has to team up with other versions of himself and stop Spider-Carnage. It's awesome to see how different each Spider-Man is. There's a Spider-Man with Doc Ock's tech, a 6-armed Spider-Man. There's even a normal human being that plays Spider-Man. We even get to see the Scarlet Spider. But my favorite among the Spider-Men was the Iron Spider-Man. He's such an arrogant asshole. And he's rich and famous from where he comes from. Sounds a lot like Tony Stark, huh? Well, in the end, they defeat Spider-Carnage, and we get to see the original Peter Parker share a tender moment with his Uncle Ben. The last few minutes of the final episode are pretty funny. Peter takes the actor that plays him in a movie back to his dimension, and the actor introduces him to Stan Lee. Peter has a little talk with Stan and leaves him stranded on a building, which is just hilarious. Every time I see Stan Lee in any kind of Marvel thing, I can no longer take it serious. And at least Stan Lee's aware of this. He's a genius. But moving on, the last few lines in the episode were a bit off. Madam Web says she knows where the real Mary Jane is, but we never find out specifically. It just seemed a bit off. Maybe it was meant to leave off like that, and maybe not. But either way, it was overall pretty satisfying. It was a great show, and it'll always stand as one of my favorites. Now for my rating, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Well, that's about it, at least for this one. I know I didn't really get too much into it, but we got 4 more shows to cover, and I can't keep wasting my time with this. So, check in for part 2 of CuJo06241's Spider-Thon, where I'll review both Spider-Man Unlimited and the 2003 animated series. This is CuJo06241, signing out.